Welcome to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. It is Friday, and I know that yesterday we spent quite a bit of time going through the absolute abysmal failure of FEMA and the federal government. And the fact that they're like, oh, we have how much? Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of your dollars being funneled to illegal aliens to take care of them. And when it comes time for Americans to be taken care of during times of real crisis and tragedy, you get $750 and no promise of more because we're already out of money. And so I understand that we already talked about that, but it doesn't seem to be being picked up anywhere in mainstream media. And I feel compelled to continue to talk about it because they are still nowhere to be found, according to sources, okay? There's a lot of inaccuracies. There's a lot of rumors. There are a lot of questions that people have, stories that are being shared amongst Americans. And I just want to try to focus on what evidence we have in front of us, what we can see to be true, what is being reported by Congress that they've found out, which I'll get to, what are the pictures and the videos coming out of these areas. I would put much more weight on that than I would a random story shared on the internet. So let's go through that, okay? So Representative Matt Gaetz actually had whistleblowers come forward and tell him that FEMA, I mean, you're going to be shocked to hear, FEMA is like totally botching this. Now, whether or not it's on purpose, let's talk about that. So he says, Matt Gaetz says, Dear Secretary Mayorkas, yesterday you stated that the Federal Emergency Management Agency, which is part of your department, does not have enough funds to make it through the hurricane season. This news comes after FEMA spent hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars on migrants due to border czar Kamala Harris's open border instead of prioritizing funding for Americans impacted by disasters. My office has been in contact with whistleblowers in numerous emergency management functions at the federal, state, and local levels, and they all point to the same critical mismanagement issues. FEMA has wasted taxpayer funds, misappropriated funds, and left other federal, state, and local responders without deployment orders on the ground. As reported and further confirmed by my office, hundreds, if not thousands, of service members were deployed by the DoD to North Carolina and have sat idle waiting for FEMA. We have confirmed FEMA employees deployed on the clock, awaiting orders in hotels. So they're there. FEMA can say, we're here, we're on the ground. Well, where are you? In the hotel? FEMA pre-disaster aid was withheld, exacerbating the emergency. It is also public that NGOs have purchased airline tickets for migrants through the use of FEMA funds. The aftermath of Hurricane Helene is a major disaster, and your waste and unpreparedness are leaving Americans in distress, unable to access food, water, or medicine, and expecting help with none coming. And then he gives a list of questions that he would like answers to. He says by October 11th, he's asking, what policies and regulations of the DHS and FEMA prevent emergency funds from being wasted on illegal immigrants. He wants to know of the total budget, what portion of funds can be guaranteed to have spent only on American citizens, and what portion of funds, are appropriated for disaster relief. Basically, you guys need to be held accountable for this because everyone's waiting on you. And you're literally like, we went through the goals of FEMA the other day. Goal number 1, not readiness. Now, you would think that if you are an emergency crisis management team, that your first goal should be readiness and preparedness. No, theirs was equity. So from the ground up, this whole entire agency needs to be obliterated. This area still has hundreds, if not thousands of people still unaccounted for. If you're listening to the actual residents on the ground, they are saying the devastation is way, way worse than you know. I mean, we are talking in the thousands. We're watching dead bodies just float away in the river. It's over a week and hundreds of thousands are still without power. People can't communicate. Elon's trying to get his Starlink out there. The government's stopping him in some cases. And so I want to play a clip of just some of these residents, just like the federal government has completely abandoned us. They are nowhere to be found. Watch.
We're not getting the amount of support that we need.
We haven't seen FEMA. We haven't seen Red Cross. We haven't seen Hearts with Hands. We've seen no agencies come through here. Most people drive through with their cameras out, filming us like we're animals in a zoo, and don't stop.
How could the government do us like this? And how could the whole country just forget about us? Like, it's not enough. What is being done is not enough. I mean, there are entire communities that have been just decimated. Where is our government? I mean, for Kamala, and I am an avid supporter for her to stand in Florida today and make a statement. Where is our government?
They're in the way. They are directly interrupting our ability to conduct missions and operations. And I'm not going to disparage anybody because we are trying to work within partner relationships, both government and non-government entities within state and federal and county. I went to put a couple of people into a hotel last night, and they have a security guard at the hotel. And they said, "Oh, we're so sorry. The entire hotel has been booked for federal employees." And I was like, no, I have people that would just pull it out of a mountain that are living out in the hills, and there's not a place for me to put them because we have federal employees that are staying in the hotel. I slept in this white car last night. I smell like foot and death right now, as does every single person on our team.
So there you have it, straight from the ground. There's more, though, okay? There's more, because we are seeing more and more private citizens, nonprofits like Mercury One, of course, founded by Glenn Beck himself. We're seeing all of these nonprofits and these private citizens just take action because the federal government is nowhere to be found. And I want to play some of those volunteers just like, where the hell is the federal government? They're not here. Where are they? Watch.
Well, there is a complete and utter lack of federal government response. We think whoever's in charge right now flew by yesterday through the TFR. I've seen nobody on the ground. Ivanka Trump came yesterday, talked to us. Elon Musk guy's been here talking to us. Glenn Beck is here now talking to us. Have seen no one from the federal government to help out at all. Nobody.
And what do you think about that?
To be honest, it just pisses me off. This is our country. We should be being taken care of priority one instead of all the other countries. It enrages everybody here. We came from Nashville, Tennessee. There's guys from Texas. Everybody comes here. We have consolidated here. Everybody is starting to work together really, really well. Hundreds of thousands of pounds of water, fuel, oxygen, medicine, insulin, all that stuff we have been taking to people's houses and delivering to them. So insane amount of help just from normal civilians.
Again, the government wants to take your guns, leave you defenseless. They want you to pay up to 40% of your income towards taxes because they say that they need it for times like this. And when it's time for you to receive help, the government is nowhere to be found. They're not here to help you. They're not coming to save you. They're not coming to save you when you have some sort of a violent criminal in front of you with a gun and you're left defenseless because you are a law-abiding citizen and you live in a blue state where they've told you that you can't carry. You're screwed. The government ain't here to save you. They're not coming. They don't like you. They don't care about you. That's all there is to conclude from this. Because Joe Biden, the person who they claim, I mean, they say he's the president right now. I don't really see it. Joe Biden, instead of going to a place like Asheville, North Carolina, which is one of the most devastated places, one of the most devastated communities that was hit, he just flew over. He just took like a survey from the air, just comfortable in his airplane. You know, I mean, it's not good for the environment, but that's all he did. Watch.
It's too late. I mean, they took too long. It took them 5 days to get here. And I mean, it took 5 days for Biden to come here, and he didn't think we were worth coming down to see us himself. He had to fly over on his way to Raleigh. It's disgraceful. I mean, they keep saying we the people. No, there is no we the people. It's them versus us. So they're not for us. It's all about them. They tell us what we need instead of listening to us.
Well, you might say Joe Biden, he's, back on the beach, by the way. He is on the beach. And you might say there he is, very comfortable, baking in the sun while you see the headline down there, Hurricane Helene death toll passes 150. That's great. That's great that Joe Biden can soak up the rays. That seems to be the only thing that he's good at during this tenure. Kamala, you'd say, well, maybe Joe Biden he knows he's not running again. He knows he's just kind of waiting around for his time to expire. And so you would expect that from him. But Kamala, she was just campaigning. She went in, said, hey, I've got $750 for you because I really care about you and I want to meet your immediate needs. Here's $750. Is that going to cover it? Yeah, they'll put a big dent in what you need. $750. Yeah. Here you go. And so she did that and then said, also, we're out of money and peaced out. Back to campaigning for me. I don't actually care about you. But do you know who you see on the ground? Donald Trump, JD Vance, true leaders, even though they don't have to. And I want to play Joe Biden just last night. He literally just flew over to survey all of the damage. And he was asked the same day about what he thought that the people needed, those who were affected, what they needed for storm relief. And he was like, he had no idea what they were even talking about. Watch.
What do the states in the storm zone need, Mr. President?
Okay.
What do the states in the storm zone, what do they need after what you saw today?
Oh, in the storm zone?
Yes, sir.
Storm zone.
I'm wondering what storm you're talking about. They're getting everything they need. They're very happy.
Oh.
Across the board.
I don't even know which makes me angrier. I don't even know which is worse. The fact that Joe Biden had no idea what storm they were talking about, the one that he supposedly surveilled earlier that day. He's like, what? Storm zone? What? I don't know what storm you're talking about. I don't know if that makes me angrier that they continue to prop up this half-dead dementia patient, or the fact that he said they received everything they need and they're very happy. I mean, that is disgraceful. That is absolutely disgraceful. And I want to remind everyone that right there that you just saw, that disgraceful exchange, that you can blame on Kamala Harris. Because Kamala Harris continued to prop him up as long as they told her to. And she sat there and she said, Joe Biden is fine. She said, Joe Biden is competent. She said, Joe Biden is a strong leader. She said all sorts of lies that she knew were lies. And I don't want it to be lost on Americans that she did that. She was part of that. She was part of that cover-up for a very long time. Remember, until he just did disastrously in the debates. Now, I want to play, it's not just the left, okay? Before we go to break here, I want to play Lindsey Graham, because we hit the left on this, and we should. But I want to play Lindsey Graham being asked a question about these victims. And instead, he wants to talk about Israel. Watch.
I've been going all over South Carolina like most people. I hadn't slept much. But look what's going on in Israel. Our friends in Israel are surrounded by people that want to kill them, destroy them, a second Holocaust in the making. And Biden says be proportional. What is the proportional response to people who want to kill you and your family? Gosh. They're running out of ammunition in Israel. We have to help our friends to keep the war over there from coming here.
Are you kidding me? You guys saw the images that they were showing right next to Lindsey Graham. They were clearly trying to get him to talk about the disaster zone right next door to him. And he's like, yeah, I mean, it sucks that Americans are in need, but let me talk to you about Israel. Here's why we should pay more attention to Israel halfway across the globe while Americans are dying and suffering. They're without power. They can't communicate with their loved ones to let them know if they're safe. But let me tell you about Israel. I bet the thought of going to war makes Lindsey Graham so, I was going to say something, but I'm trying to keep, I already dropped an F-bomb, so I'm going to try to keep it as kid-friendly as possible. I already blew that. That's fine. There's a joke there as well. So let me just leave you with this. Maybe there's nothing to it. Maybe there is. But I'd like to show you the population of evangelicals. This is, Logan Hall pointed this out here over our digital strategist. I'd like to show you the evangelical Protestant population over in the area that was just ravaged by this hurricane. And I want you to tell me, is that a coincidence that there's been no response? Is it a coincidence? I don't know. Just thought I'd throw that out there. All right, we've got to take a quick break. We'll be back with more, but we want to thank our sponsor, Patriot Mobile. So Patriot Mobile is, you know what? Patriot Mobile in times like these with crisis, Patriot Mobile is typically one of the first ones on the front lines, at the disaster zone, at the border. They are truly some of the greatest patriots that I know. And what's great about Patriot Mobile is that they are giving you the same cell service that you would get if you were with Big Mobile, except you know that you are sending your money to a company that A, doesn't hate you like the others, and B, actually is going to work on the same issues that you are, okay? They're fighting for the First and Second Amendments. They're fighting for the sanctity of life, and they're fighting for so much more. They're flipping school boards across the country to more conservative school boards and fighting porn in schools. Go to Patriot Mobile's website. You can get a new plan, or you can get a new phone, you can get a new phone number, or you can keep both your phone and your phone number. They are probably going to save you money as well. So there's no reason not to go check them out. You can go to patriotmobile.com/Sarah. You can get a free month with offer code Sarah. Just go check them out, okay? patriotmobile.com/Sarah. Joining me now, we have Blaze TV contributors, both John Doyle, host of Heck Off Commie, along with Eric July, owner of Ripaverse Comics, which you guys should all check out. I talked about Patriot Mobile earlier. You are also contributing.
Giving it a shot.
To the Giving it a shot? I don't even know why you show up here anymore. Contributing to the parallel economy, of course. So make sure that you go check that out. John, I like your fall MAGA hat.
Thank you. Yeah, you know, people forget that Trump sent this email out. Everyone wants to hop on the Trump train after the assassination attempts. And where were you when Trump sent you an email last October saying, give me $47 and I'll send you my pumpkin MAGA hat? A lot of people were absent. And, you know, we try not to hold grudges, but we also try to remember these things.
It does say Trump on the back because They can't see it, so I was telling him.
Oh yeah, if that informs your experience at all, just know it's not literally just an orange. It does say Trump on the back.
So I was talking during the last segment about just the disaster that FEMA has been during a natural disaster. And it blows my mind that Kamala Harris, you would think, she doesn't care about those people. I know that. But you would think that just for optics, she would be down there for the photo moment of her, like, handing out water, handing out supplies, like spending more than just, I don't know, how a couple hours there to give a press conference and tell people we're giving you $750, you're welcome, and then turning around and leaving. Well, she's not even doing that. Biden's not even doing that. She didn't want to spend too much time away from her campaign. So yesterday I mentioned she was campaigning. She was also joined by Liz Cheney at the campaign rally, who it would just, I mean, she's a big fan of Kamala Harris. She endorsed her. And Kamala Harris actually had just glowing remarks about Liz Cheney as well. Watch.
There are many who know it is wrong, and then there are those who have the courage to speak out loudly about it and the conviction to speak truth. And, you know, it is so admirable when anyone does it, and especially when it is difficult to do in an environment such as this. But Liz Cheney really is a leader who puts country above party and above self, a true patriot. And it is my profound honor to have your support.
I wonder if they would say the same about Tulsi Gabbard, because I'm pretty sure that they don't say the same thing about Tulsi Gabbard. Now, I want your thoughts, gentlemen, but let me just as a little refresher, let me tell you what Liz Cheney was saying about Kamala Harris 4 years ago. Kamala Harris is a radical liberal who would raise taxes, take away guns and health insurance, and explode the size and power of the federal government. By the way, all true. I would just like to point out. She wants to recreate America in the image of what's happening on the streets of Portland and Seattle. We won't give her the chance. And she even doubled down on that, appearing on Fox to talk about it. Watch.
I think that the pick was somewhat surprising. Joe Biden has really been trying to portray himself as the moderate in this race, as somebody who is a centrist. And in one fell swoop here, he has put somebody on the ticket whose voting record in the Senate is to the left of Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren.
Don't worry. Trump didn't break Liz Cheney. Okay. She's just putting country over party.
He broke so many people's minds, and if nothing else, that is perhaps the greatest thing that he's done to our political climate. I'm even old enough to remember that the liberal historiography of the Bush administration is that Bush was this idiot, and Dick Cheney was the evil puppet who was pulling all that. They just made a movie about this 5 years ago, Vice, with Christian Bale. The entire liberal understanding of the Bush administration was that George Bush is this bumbling fool, and Dick Cheney was brought in by these nefarious actors to puppet the entire administration. But now they tout his endorsement as though it's some, indicator of bipartisanship or putting, country over party. When in actuality, it's just a vindication of the entire Trump political project, which is he is an outsider. He is anti-establishment, and the political establishment, whether they're wearing blue ties or red ties, view him to be an irritant, which has to be gotten rid of so that they can go back to business as usual.
So he mentioned Dick Cheney, of course, Liz's dad. Let's play actually the moment where Kamala Harris, which the left is really pissed about, by the way. Let's play her thanking Dick Cheney as well. Watch.
And I also want to thank your father, Vice President Dick Cheney, for his support and
Those
what he
people
has
are
done to serve our
really
country.
don't want to clap.
Every endorsement matters, and this endorsement matters a great deal, Liz, and it carries a special significance.
I've seen a tweet from one of these accounts that was when your coalition is bringing together Mark Hamill, Dick Cheney, and all these, it's you're on the winning team or something. And it's Dick Cheney of all people. I mean, that was Hitler's Hitler, and 10 years ago.
Right. Yeah, they hated that guy. Now all of a sudden, she's a big fan.
Yeah.
I mean, I could talk all day about the left's hypocrisy on that, but I just rather, because I didn't get a chance, definitely when the endorsement happened, I wasn't appearing, here, and I was, out with my surgery. But Dick Cheney is one of the, and I'm sorry if there are friends of the show or people that are here at Blaze that even think mildly fondly of that piece of trash, but he is one of the worst human beings to ever walk the planet, considering all of what he facilitated. And I think a lot of people seem to forget that. I mean, it starts with, O.G. Bush, with him being VP, and you had the facilitating of, obviously, that Gulf War, invading another country over this freaking war on drugs. I believe it was, Panama or whatever. And then you had, after that, obviously, with the other Bush, and him being, he was Secretary of Defense initially, right? And then you had, VP and then Secretary of Defense. I always get those backwards. But then you have what we all seem to agree on, I at least think by now, and what happened with September 11th and everybody being kind of led on a complete, lie. It was Dick Cheney that justified the invasion of Iraq. So if you have any sort of position against that, you have to inherently oppose Dick freaking Cheney. And then all of what came after that, if people don't remember, the NSA and every spying on the American people, that was Dick Cheney, man. That was Dick Cheney. And I know I could sit up here and talk until I'm blue in the face and say, yeah, the left used to hate this guy, and they did. Yeah. They did greatly. But a lot of people that were on the quote unquote right didn't like this guy. But these are some dirty. They're asshats. I think Dick is a proper name for that guy because he is a dickhead for sure. But seriously, he's one of the worst. I mean, when you look at these wars going on in the Middle East, you cannot be in opposition to that without looking to Dick Cheney and what all he had to do in terms of his contributions to it. Both the war on drugs as well as, again, just the general wanting to bomb the living crap out of the Middle East. So here we are, Kamala Harris. You could tell how she was kind of talking about that. She was like, I got to say something.
She's nervous.
But I know, man, I'm treading here. I'm on thin ice here. But she said it anyway. And there have been leftists that I've seen some of the memes and stuff that you're referring to. It's like, we got all these guys on our side. And I'm like, Dick Cheney. Yeah. I thought at one point we all agreed this guy is an asshat. Apparently he's not so much.
I love that you say
Bush's
that.
Endorsement as well. He's a great guy, fantastic according to them.
Right. All of a sudden.
Why not? Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the names that they were calling George W. So I've got some leftist reactions that I was reading on this article here. The writers are just effing with us at this point. I honestly did not have on my bingo card that the Democrats would go from calling Dick Cheney a war criminal to thanking him to thanking him for his service to the country. Incredible timeline. And then there was another guy, some TV writer, who said, we'd better win if we have to put up with this shit. If you were to pick a single most evil man in the 21st century, it would be hard to beat Dick Cheney.
True.
People can do what they want. They're really mad. People can do what they want, but I'll never vote for this.
Interesting. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it is interesting. Is that he is a terrible person, but is he that terrible to where, I mean, even leftists, which they're really usually good at this whole, I don't want to say unity and coalition building, but as long as it's advantageous to whatever cause that they have at the time, they'll kind of hold their nose and go on with it. But I do wonder if Dick Cheney, because he is such a piece of trash, if it's like a damning endorsement almost to at least a significant amount of people who would either withhold their vote altogether or vote against it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there is a sense of like, okay, I'm not saying that those voters that are turned off by this because they don't like Dick Cheney are going to somehow magically vote for Donald Trump. Obviously, that math doesn't work. But what could happen is that they're not passionate enough to show up at the polls and vote, right? Because you're talking about a party that is so divided on several different issues right now, including Israel and what's going on in Gaza. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, like, a lot of their base is pissed off at Kamala. They're not going to vote for Trump, but they might stay home.
Yeah, one of the most energizing issues for them in the 2000s was being anti-war. And then, you get Obama in there and he's starting conflicts in Yemen and he's drone striking, and even the left now, they think it's like really edgy to talk about that. Like they'll call Barack Obama a war criminal. And
no, do they really?
Oh, they love doing that. Like you'll get these like Chapo cells.
No kidding.
They like being like, Barack Obama's a war criminal. It's like, okay, well, like you're just going to support someone who's the same anyway. Right. So whatever. But you have to wonder how much enthusiasm there even is to vote for Kamala, even if, just to oppose Donald Trump. Like I was just back in Michigan driving through the suburbs and I saw 2 Kamala signs in a deeply liberal area in Michigan, Royal Oak, and I saw Trump signs everywhere, which in 2020, this was not the case. Same area was not the case. And in 2016, to be honest with you, I think it was even like 10, 15% less, which is probably just because, supporting Trump in 2016 was, I think, actually a lot more controversial than now. His unfavorability rating was like -24. Now it's like -8. Like people kind of understand that he's not actually, literally Hitler. And so it's not as controversial. But yeah, no one has energy for Kamala. I mean, it's just not there.
Yeah, it's just. Do you think? I mean, they will at least have more enthusiasm and energy than Joe Biden, right? Because they're like, well, she's not dead, right?
Perhaps. I mean, I'd imagine, yeah.
But also, she's stupid.
Yeah, she's not
fragile. Like whatever the support is,
yeah.
I don't think Biden, I mean, nobody got enthusiastic for that, but I'll at least say that much about, I think, they're going to be more enthusiastic about Kamala than Joe Biden for sure.
Yeah. So on the topic of campaign rallies and all of that, Donald Trump is going back to Butler, Pennsylvania. That was, of course, the site of the first assassination attempt on him, where he was shot in the ear. And he released a press release that said that he's inviting, I know the family of Corey Comparator, who was killed at that rally. They're coming up there. Elon Musk is going to join him. And so he said in his statement, I'm going back to Butler because I feel I have an obligation to go back to Butler. We never finished what we were supposed to do. I said that day when I was shot, I said, we're coming back. We're going to come back. And I'm fulfilling a promise. I'm fulfilling really an obligation. Strong man to go back to the place where he almost died.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's just like a natural leader. Like you mentioned, too, with the disasters going on right now because of the hurricane. He's down there, boots on the ground, distributing resources, trying to raise morale. And Kamala is where? She's appearing, in these staged photographs on a plane, pretending like she's coordinating things. She had an opportunity because, obviously the commander-in-chief is MIA. I think that he gave a statement basically saying, when a reporter asked, is there anything else the federal government can be doing? He said, no. And so then it's like, okay, so the commander-in-chief is absent. We've got the vice president. She could step up to the plate and show that she actually can lead. She has resources at her disposal that she uniquely could use, and she just hasn't. Whereas Donald Trump is down there. He's doing stuff. Same thing, on the aftermath of September 11th. He's down there, and he's got his guys. This is 15 years before he would become president. But this is a guy who is just a natural leader. And some people have it, some people don't. But when you're Kamala Harris, your job isn't to be a leader, it's just to be a puppet. And so what the value you provide and are paid for is, reading off whatever you're supposed to read off. But other than that, it's like a very easy, leisurely existence where you don't really have to do anything. So then it's like, okay, if there's a hurricane, hey, we need you to get on this flight and go. It's going to be really swampy and gross, and you're going to have to hand out water bottles. They're not going to do that. They're like, this is not what I want to do. And so they'll have some staged photographs or whatever. But yeah, fundamentally, they have no feeling of obligation towards Americans.
Yeah. Eric, last word.
Yeah, that is so very true. It sucks, but that's the harsh reality that she is absolutely about the photo ops. It was funny watching that one post that she had. She did get ratioed, and rightfully so, when she was talking about what she was going to be doing at the border and stopping, preventing this sort of this influx of drug usage and all that stuff, as if she hadn't a damn VP. Not only that, as if she wasn't appointed the freaking border czar, but she's taking all these photos, walking with Border Patrol and all that. That probably all lasted about 5 minutes before she got back on the plane and went to go do whatever the hell else that she wants. I think that's just a sense of what you get. I think of that like Democrats. That kind of embodies who they are, just in general. This guy that it's everything's more of a photo op, as opposed to like feeling real and feeling genuine, which is kind of ironic because they are the party that likes to present themselves as if they are the relatable ones. And I don't get that sense at all. And I'm not saying that just because, I rag on them all the time. I'm just looking at that objectively. I don't get a sense that they're real at all.
Yeah, maybe I know that there are a couple issues that the parties have kind of flipped on Maybe you could say that that's one of them, but certainly that's not who they are right now. All right, we've got to take a quick break. We'll be back with more. First, we want to thank our sponsor, First Liberty. So Joe Biden has said in his moments of, being coherent, he has said that he wants to make court reform one of his top priorities before he leaves office. And, the left is so good at using language. They use the term reform thinking, oh, that's a gentle sounding term. That's fine. Everyone's going to be like, oh, you're just going to make it better. No, actually, they want to pack the Supreme Court. And of course, if they do that, they will basically just put in handpicked little activist judges and they will get the outcomes that they want. First Liberty is calling this what it really is, which is a Supreme Court coup. And January, their plan could become our nation's reality. So what First Liberty is asking you to do, it's the easiest thing that you're going to be asked to do today. They're asking you to add your name to their letter saying, don't Venezuela my United States, say no to the Joe Biden Supreme Court packing plan. Go to supremecoup.com/Sarah to sign it. Supreme Coup, there's a P in coup. Okay, COUP, supremecoup.com/Sarah. James O'Keefe is at it again with OMG, of course, the O'Keefe Media Group. They apparently, I don't know why these people keep falling into these traps of like, oh, wow, this really hot babe is interested in me and wants to ask me all of these questions about my job. And they just keep falling for it. And I want to play some clips here from his latest. I encourage all of you guys to go check it out on his social media, the full video. But this is MSNBC producer and writer Basil Hamdan. He works on a weekend show and he is like, yeah, MSNBC and Kamala, we're basically the same as the Democrat Party. We just parrot their talking points, I guess. Watch.
So is MSNBC just doing whatever it takes to get Kamala elected?
Yes. It hammers home the point that I'm making, that this news network is indistinguishable from the party.
Are they just the Democratic Party's mouthpiece?
Exactly.
MSNBC is the Democratic Party's mouthpiece.
Yeah.
So happy about it.
Viewers get mad at the guests or the host if the host were to criticize Democrats. They've made their viewers dumber over the years. I think brainwashing and dumbing down.
It's bad.
Aggressive.
I get it.
Helps Trump.
So do you feel like MSNBC is doing enough to help the Harris campaign?
I mean, they're doing all they can.
Which is what? What have they done to help the Harris campaign?
Amplify her message.
Why would you?
What her message of the day is.
You're not going to
asking at you.
Right. You're not going to catch on.
I'm sure he this is a setup, man.
Right.
But never clicked in
asking me so many questions about this particular topic.
It's such a weird thing, but I don't know, man. That wine was good. He was knocking it back. He thought, hey, man. More power to you. But no, he didn't say anything that we didn't assume.
Right.
I think everybody, for the most part, assumed the MSNBC, that was just it was essentially the left. It was essentially the sort of mainstream leftist authoritarianism position was going to be echoed all over that platform. So it's not unsurprising by any means. I don't think anybody looks at that and is like, oh, wow, he actually said that. It was he kind of split the atom there. No, it's nothing new.
But it's sometimes it's nice to have them confirming.
Explicitly say it, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
What we have been saying this whole time, and they're like, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. It's just nice sometimes to have some confirmation.
Yeah, we love our undercover female patriots who are going out there and getting these guys to, I guess, say the quiet part out loud.
Actually, sometimes they are males.
Often, actually, from what I've seen, which makes, that doesn't surprise me one bit. But it is true, we believe in this country that just because, we don't have a state media per se, that these represent different interests in society, but they really don't. You look at MSNBC, CNN, any of these companies, they have the same interest basically as does the political establishment. And they are allowed to exist in the capacity that they do because ultimately they're willing to toe that line and just be propagandists. And, even if they're not state media or officially under the flag of the United States government, it's ultimately the same thing. And so, yeah, to see it admitted it's nice sometimes.
Yeah, but yeah, it is state media. You're right. And I want to stress to everyone, it's just going to get worse if Kamala is elected. You already have, who is it, John Kerry talking about how we need to crack down on disinformation. These people want to take away your ability to, any part of the First Amendment.
That's an excellent point. As I was saying before the program began, if you think the pumpkin hat is scary, just wait until what is going to happen if the liberals stay in power.
Did you actually say that?
Actually, no. I think it was the opposite. I think I threatened them. I was like, "What's going to happen to you when we win is going to be scary."
That sounds much more like John Doyle. But I mean, seriously, like if another 4 years of basically Obama, Susan Rice, all of these people, John Kerry, you think that you're still going to have a first? I'm just saying they're imprisoning peaceful protesters outside of abortion clinics right now. You think that gets better? No. Eric?
No, I mean, look, I anticipate that if somehow Kamala does end up pulling this out, right, and she becomes president.
Let's be honest. If she fortifies it enough to win.
We've seen this play
Can we
out.
just
We've seen it play out before. It was a completely legitimate election last time.
The safest and most secure. Thank you for pointing that out, Eric.
Most popular president that we've ever had.
Yes, more popular than Barack Obama.
Is in office right now.
Yeah.
But no, seriously.
Hold on. Doesn't know that there's a storm. Did not know that there was a storm right after he flew over all of the damage. But yes, most popular. Go ahead.
Well, that's why he's so popular, because it's relatable.
Relatable.
Like Obama's keeping up with everything, and the average American is like, "What is this?" Joe Biden's like, "I don't know what's going on," and Americans are like, "That's a guy
that's my guy right there."
That's me.
I can see myself essentially what everybody says. Look, I don't. It's hard to say if it's going to get worse or better, at least from the media's perspective. With them winning, I mean, I think it could go either way, even if they lose, right? Especially with Trump, we already saw it happen, right? 2016, 2015, people just started going damn crazy, right? And especially once he got when he won, right? In 2016, they went nuts. They went. I mean, everybody's favorite. Everybody, be a commentator, if there's a streamer that you liked, if there's an actor, if it was an actress, they all went freaking nuts during that period of time. So I would anticipate that you would get a lot more of that either way. So I think they have even more incentive to be on the suppression tip. Thankfully, we have like a Twitter in the event that he wins as well. You just use it to justify doing it because they're pissed off.
Yeah, do you guys remember when he was in office and there was I think it was CNN. There was a CNN reporter who they didn't let in the press briefing room for a certain reason. I can't remember what it was, but he did something. And so they weren't allowed in the room. There were other CNN reporters in the room. They weren't just not allowing the entire network. It was just a person. And the amount of liberals, I mean, it was all over the news. Donald Trump, his assault on our First Amendment. Oh my God, he doesn't care about the First Amendment. And now they're like, we really need to crack down on information we don't like. You shouldn't be allowed to say that. Just saying. All right, we've got to take a quick break, but I want to remind you guys before we do, we have decided here at Blaze to launch a premium quarterly magazine. It's called Frontier, and it's just absolutely beautiful. The picture and seeing it, I know I've held it up a couple times, doesn't even do it justice because it is high quality stuff. It's got work from Matt Taibbi, Chris Rufo, Mark Levin, Glenn Beck, and you can actually get it as part of our new Blaze Unlimited membership. It will be delivered right to your door along with a whole lot more. And as a founding member of Blaze Unlimited, you're going to receive a limited edition founding members card, even more behind the scenes content, VIP event access, and a chance to have your voice heard. We're doing everything we can here at Blaze Media to push back against the mainstream machine that you just heard right there that's doing everything it can to silence the truth. You can go to blazeunlimited.com/Sarah to claim your spot because this founding member spots, they're very limited. And by the way, when that issue of that magazine runs out, there are no more printed. So go check it out over at blazeunlimited.com/Sarah. Well, I want to play for you guys. Speaking of North Carolina, I want to play this. I think this is a little bit dated, not too dated, maybe a couple weeks. 15-year-old talking to a school board in North Carolina about, just having to read porn in her class. Watch.
I'm in the 10th grade and I'm 15 years old. For 11 of those years, I lived in the Dominican Republic. 3 months ago, my family and I moved to North Carolina and have me enrolled in the highly rated Athens Drive Magnet High School. I was very excited for this opportunity. Until last Friday, that is, on Friday the 13th, my English honors class, my teacher assigned the class to read a story independently and then come together into groups and discuss the story and answer some questions. There was a part in this story that made me feel very uncomfortable, and I looked around and saw the same expression on other students' faces. We all had just read the following. It was not the summer you fell in love with your cousin Doozy, because that happened just a few summers before, when you both wiggled into the tiny space behind Grandma's garage, and he tried to fit what you both called his banana into what you both called your tomato, but neither of you was sure which was the right hole. Even after reading again, it makes me feel very uncomfortable. This graphic, ancestral sexual language should not be taught in any class, much less an honors English class. That day I came back home from school. As per usual, I told my parents about my day and the things I did. I showed them what I was taught in my English class, and they were as outraged as I was.
One of the men who is standing up for this is Pastor John Amanchukwu. I think I said that right. And I want to play him addressing the school board as well. Oh, we don't have that. Okay. So it's really difficult for me to swallow that it's now the children who are the adults in the room.
Yeah, these people just need to go to jail. I mean, I'm sure if you put any top prosecutor on the case and just said, hey, can you find something to go after these people for because they're exposing children to this kind of content, they could probably find something at the very least to intimidate these people into not continuing to expose children to this kind of content. And that has to be the way forward. Like, you're never going to reason these people out of exposing children to this kind of stuff. I mean, that's not a rational mind that seeks to do it. It is a mind that is motivated by subverting American moral standards, and it needs to just be punished. I mean, it's like fire. It has to be contained. It has to be suppressed. And if not, it's just going to continue to spread. And you're not going to be nice and get your way out of the situation. You're certainly not going to argue your way out of the situation. These people just need to go to jail. I mean, whoever is in charge of making those decisions, whoever's in charge of facilitating these things, that kind of material getting into the hands of children, I don't care what age you are, you should go to jail. You should be fired. You should not be able to make a living in this country, let alone in the public school system, which is paid for by our tax dollars, by doing these kinds of things.
Yeah, I want to add one thing to what you said, John. I obviously agree with you, but I think the parents who are also okay with this, right, who defend it, the parents who complain to the school when they remove the pornographic literature, they're like, that's not fair, that's book banning. They deserve to have their children taken from them.
People are wild, man. And the fact we're having to have this discussion, I mean, time and time again here on the show, because there's some weirdos or a group of weirdos trying to put degenerate nonsense into children's, be it their books, and having them read them, it just goes to show how fallen we've gone as a country, because it used to be at least some level of consensus that the kids were at least off limit. You're trying to, I guess that would be the role kind of not only just the teachers or more or less the parents, especially trying to preserve the innocence of these children. And here we are exposing them to this degeneracy. And we keep hearing these stories and nothing seems to happen to any of these folks, because folks are bold enough, unfortunately, to advocate for this stuff to be in these schools. And that's what really, really sucks is that, we had that conversation. I know I was on the show. We were doing the whole show. We talked about, for example, Chloe with the trans nonsense and her detransitioning. And you hear obviously the medical institution and how involved that they are in this. They're very compromised. If you did believe in that institution in the first place, and these people are able to freely just say that they straight up advocate for this foolishness. And there are zero consequences because they don't fear it. Whereas maybe it was happening at some point, but they did it in secrecy because deep down that they knew it was incorrect.
Yeah.
Now they have enough of the establishment on their sides to where they actually go out of their way to advocate it. And God forbid if you actually be against it, well, now you're the enemy and you're the one that's wrong. You're the one that wants book burning or whatever, banning. If that's what you want to call it, I really don't care. Whatever side is the side that wants to keep that shit away from children, I'm on that side. Call it what you want. You're going to classify me as whatever anyway. So call it whatever you need to.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it's like, oh, you're banning books. Oh, I don't want Hustler in my child's school library. That's correct.
That's like, it's not that we're banning them. You are artificially putting them there. Like, you're the weird one. No one would ever seek that material out. It's not good literature. It's stupid. Like, you want it to be in these classrooms because you want to, like, torture American Christians. Like, that's the idea behind it. And yeah, simply, like, disallowing you from doing that is not the same as, like, putting all the books in a pile and lighting them on fires.
Right, exactly. Well, make sure to go to ripaverse.com. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. You probably have, to Heck Off Commie over on YouTube. We'll see you Monday.